Hello and welcome to the Blues Focus podcast with me, your host, John Graham. Once again, many thanks for taking the time to view this pod or listen to it from wherever you download this content. Lots and lots of things to cover. But before we get into it, then reach out to the lads. So starting with Tom. How are you, Tom?
I'm very good, thanks, mate. How are you?
I am very well this Sunday morning, I have to say. Carl, and yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. I think I pulled my spleen yesterday, but yeah, I'm all right.
I was going to say it's a rather extreme haircut for a Sunday morning. And Kurt, how are you, mate?
Yes, I'm good, thank you.
The new boy.
Good. Yeah. Right, well, let's get involved. So before we get onto the excitement of yesterday, I think it's probably good to reflect on what I'm going to class as the Friday the 15th of October AD, which is after Dean, because I think that is our watershed moment for this particular team. And I think that it'd be good to maybe reflect on how bad, post-Forest, I think we're all probably a bit of a loss to see where the season was going to go from there. He's obviously made a big shout with dropping Dean. So I think maybe spend a bit of time just talking about the Albion game, just in general. So, Tom, I know you were there because you nearly got your head kicked in at the Hawthorne station. So, what was the game like?
The game itself, I think we started a bit under pressure, to be fair, which was expected anyway. But I think the lineup that we put out looked like the sort of lineup that was out to battle, not out to play pretty football. Yeah. Obviously, you reintroduced Gardner and playing him alongside Sunjic. You're not exactly expecting the most beautiful midfield you've ever seen. So yeah, it sort of started how I expected it to, but then the game really turned on its head and Blues were just constant. We were constantly nicking the ball off them at the halfway line and just bombing it forward, particularly Chong. But same old story, we just didn't take our chances whenever they came. So yeah, no, I thought we were the better side, to be honest, first half and second half, but obviously in the end, we were done by a quality player, and I'm sure you can all agree on that one. But no, overall, I was fairly surprised how well we played. I think anything less than 4-0 could have been seen as a victory. I think we did okay in the end. Probably deserved at least a point. We didn't deserve to lose that game.
Yeah. And Carl, Tom just touched on it there. Bowyer's been obviously one of the mainstays of the team in Woods. I think he's very much been brought in to maybe set the tempo of most games. Would you agree that was quite a big shout, and maybe whether that's an admission? What do you think was the thinking behind that?
I think it was a pretty big shout. I think he was maybe more mindful of winning second balls and clattering into challenges or running their arses off, which I think Woods, he's great at playing the ball around, and setting that tempo, but defensively he's not sound. And I think, and obviously we'll mention the game since I think Bowyer's biggest thing was stopping the twos, the threes, the fours. And unfortunately, you do have to go back to basics to do that. And we've always really had not a very pretty central midfield pairing, all the way back to Kift and before that, so
Stephen Gleeson,
yeah, exactly. Exactly that. But I think that was his thinking, was let's have a fight in midfield rather than let's try and play pretty football, because we tried to play pretty football against lesser teams than Albion maybe and been shown up for it. So I think it was a big call, but I think it was probably the right one to just stop the rot for now. We all know that Bowyer wants to play football, so I think moving forward it might change, but yeah, probably the right decision in hindsight.
Yeah. And Kurt, we had a bit of a failed attempt at a podcast, probably due to my ineptitude when it comes to recording various Zoom calls. But on that call, we did have the debate about Dean and whether he should play, and I think you said any other game than the Albion game, you thought he would probably be dropped, and he was. So were you surprised, and how did you think that played out?
I was a bit surprised, yeah, just because of the nature of the game. But then again, after the end of the game, it wasn't too surprising, because you're thinking, I don't know if anyone else thought this, but obviously Deeney, you were expected to at least play some minutes, and he didn't appear at all. So yeah, I thought that was a bit of a strange decision. But then when you look at the Dean one as well, Harley Dean, it just shows he's not really afraid to drop those sorts of people, which is a good thing in a manager. I think you do want that, really.
Yeah. And I think, after the Forest game, then he obviously came out and made quite a few big statements. And there was quite a big sort of gap between the Forest game and obviously the Albion fixture. And it was just that I was a bit nervous whether he'd, maybe see Harley Dean raise his game in training and maybe bluffed into picking him again. But I'm glad that he didn't. And I mean, we'll touch on recent performances, but I mean, Tom, you're the stato, and you won't have it to hand, but I'd like to see how many goals we concede when George Friend starts since he's played for Blues. Mate, he's the most unappreciated centre half we've had for. It's because he's not, he's an unfashionable centre half, but he's one of those players that you don't see him making darting runs up front. You don't see him putting last-ditch tackles in because he fucking stands up. He doesn't spend half his time on his arse like Harley Dean does. He's just an old school, really good centre half. And I'm absolutely over the moon that he's back in the side.
Yeah, and me. And I can tell you one stat that I remember from last season.
I knew it.
One stat, and that was when the first 12 games that George Friend started in under Karanka, we kept 7 clean sheets. And then after that, we didn't keep more than 7 for the rest of the season. So yeah. I feel like that says a lot about the quality that George Friend can add to the back line. He did look a little bit shaky at times yesterday, but he probably put himself about the most out of the 3. I think Dion definitely made more forward runs, and he was quite composed in those situations as well. He was doing everything Dean has always wanted to do, but just failed to do so. So, I was very impressed with Friend yesterday. He was just that little bit of fight that we've lacked. Like he will challenge those extra tackles that maybe your Roberts or your Dean wouldn't, because they just see it as too risky. But Friend pulls it off, and the stats are clear to see.
The thing that Friend does, it's bloody hell, showing my age again. He just gets touch tight. So, if the guy that he's marking is dropping, if he's coming to get the ball, Friend always goes with him. What Dean tends to do is just sit off, let the guy that get the ball turn, and then he's square and he's struggling. So I think that I'm really chuffed that he's back in. And I think just to maybe round up the Albion results, I think after the game, my worry was we're sort of going back a little bit to the Karanka sort of sound bites of we were the better side, we created a load of chances. And it's like, this really we've got to draw a line here, because if it doesn't turn around soon and you don't sort of commit to a plan, then we're gonna find ourselves back in a very familiar position, unfortunately. So moving on to Huddersfield. So I'll start with you, Cole. Based on, I think, Albion being, apart from the result, quite a positive performance, where were your expectations going into that Huddersfield game, selections and, style of play, etc.?
Definitely was surprised that Hogan didn't start. I'm always surprised when Hogan doesn't start, especially as, literally Bowyer came out and had so much praise for him and then dropped him to the bench. And I was like, what? So is it reverse psychology? I don't really know. So that really shocked me, to be fair, because I think I made a joke about it that Hogan's pace is a big advantage for us, but he's not really, he's not out and out pace, is he?
No.
But he's quicker than the other 3, and I think by a country mile. And I thought if he plays, the pressing game always seems to be much better and much stronger. So without him, I was a bit disappointed because I think we've looked dangerous when we press teams. Derby, that's where the 2 goals came from, was pressing. Yeah. So it just felt, I would say negative, but it felt like we were going to get a clean sheet and nick a goal if we could. It felt like that from the outset. And I don't think it really deviated from that at all. Yeah. Which, yes, it's away from home. You've been shipping goals left, right, and centre, but we were fairly positive at Albion, so I hope that continued. But it looked like, and I think Bowyer said it yesterday, which obviously we'll come to, about being brave. It just looked like, and I think you even mentioned it, John, actually, about being brave, putting yourselves about making things happen. And it just, I've got a massive man crush on Duke. Like, Duke and Max are my guys, all the time, but he's not the man to play as centre of a 3-man attack, in my opinion. Duke always works better with an out-and-out partner. Always has, always will. And it just, I get what he brings in certain ends, but you want to build on that momentum. You want to take it forward. And I just felt we were playing it a bit too safe, maybe, going into that one.
Kurt, do you think he was starting to feel the pressure? Because I think that team selection is probably the first time where I think he's done a Karanka, where he's more interested in what the opposition are going to pick rather than what he's committed to. Did you feel there was a difference there, or were you happy with the selection?
I was happy with it, to be fair. But what I will say is, and Bowyer said after the game yesterday, I think he was probably saving Deeney for yesterday. So I think when he's doing a selection, it's difficult to rotate Deeney, Hogan, Jukovic. So I think just going forward, he's probably always going to pick Deeney for home games. I don't know if that was my sort of feel from it. He's got a difficult decision there with rotating them all, really.
Yeah. And just in general, what did you think of the performance?
I thought, yeah, it was all right. We got there. If you'd have told me at the start that we would have got 4 points and the point at Huddersfield, then yeah, I would have took that. So I would have took the point before the game as well. So
yeah,
I was happy with that.
Tom, what were your thoughts on it? Were you sort of frustrated? I know we obviously Colin sort of dropped out. So, that's the sort of a mainstay of the very limited things that have been good about Blues for the last 18 months. So you take that out and you're like, okay, Graham comes in and, the back three look completely different. So, what were your thoughts just around how that was going to plan out and how the game went?
To be honest, it was all a roller coaster of emotions for me. Like the day before I had toe surgery, told me not to go to the football. I was like, I'm still going to Huddersfield away anyway, because I think, you know what, Blues will win if I don't go. So I went. Obviously, lineup comes out, and I'm like, oh no, it's that time again where the manager is throwing out the most random lineup ever seen, and you're interested by it. You are interested by it because you think, oh, hang on, he might be onto something here. But like your Zolas, your Cottrells, your Redknaps, all the rest of them, every time they've tried some random lineup and a new system, it never works. And we tend to lose like 3 or 4-0. This is the first time that didn't happen. But when you actually see the lineup, you sort of think 4-3-3 there. But it did still seem like that sort of 5 at the back with your wing backs. But Chong, rather than being a second striker, was a little bit deeper than that. He was more playing sort of behind Jukovic, but would make those runs in behind the defence as well. So it was a slightly tweaked system to what we've been used to. Obviously, Bella being injured as well, it's like, oh shit, that's not great. There goes our other wing back with Colin being out. And also probably our best, well, at the time, you'd probably say it was our best deliverer of a cross in the team. Along comes Jordan Graham. And I decided to punish myself with the Villa under-23s game at St Andrews, where I watched Jordan Graham play, and he was astonishingly bad in that game. So I was like, I see him in the lineup. I was like, oh no, this isn't great. I mean, if I hadn't gone to the game, I'd have probably been excited to see him. And then he goes and plays like that. And I was like, you know what? You're not that bad for someone who says he can't defend. You're all right. So yeah, no, it was overall, it was a really depressing game. Huddersfield were probably the better side, but you take a clean sheet any day in a sense. But I was more frustrated at the fact that Hogan played so well against Albion, and Bowyer's basically gone and said, Joe, you played so well, I've saved you this really warm seat over in Huddersfield. Let's go find it, shall we? So, yeah, I was really frustrated because we did lack mobility in that game, and it really showed. But I think in the end, it did look like we played for a point. As soon as Deeney came on, he ran his socks off, but we didn't create any more chances other than Gary Gardner missing a header. But Gary Gardner likes to miss easy chances these days, unfortunately, including yesterday, 25 yards out, open goal. Where's Gardner going to put it, Rosie? But here we are. No, I think in the end, you look at it sort of in hindsight, it was a decent point. So we'll take it and move on.
Yeah, I think the formation, Jukovic was lone striker. The fact, we sort of came away from, as you say, Cole, against where we've done really well, Derby, Luton, etc., high press, lots of sort of pressure. And this was, right, we're just going to camp. We're not going to press the ball. We're going to invite them on and see where we, literally go, probably 5 across the back and then another 4 in front of them. And then Duke just sort of trying to just patrol that halfway line. And for me, Huddersfield away doing that, that is not ideal, but far from it. I'm glad McGree came into the side. I've been calling for that for a long time. And we've mentioned Jordan Graham before that, he did show signs in the pre-season games that he might have a bit to offer. So I think this sort of gradual inclusion of Bowyer signings, because let's be honest, we went down this road last year with Karanka, got loads of players in, never fucking played them. And you're like, well, if you want to be the master of your own destiny and accountable, then play the players that you've actually brought into the club to do something. So I think that was the start of it against Huddersfield, that we're starting to maybe see it. But I think the pressure was definitely on him to try and get something. If that's the benchmark, then I'm going back, 8, maybe 6 weeks ago, remember all the euphoria of, my God, there's a team here, and then very, very quickly. We're sort of the complete opposite. But I think the other thing, and we'll come on to it now, that, we were staring down the barrel of a club record for goals not scored when we went into the game yesterday. So, I think putting the Huddersfield on the back burner. Kurt, what were you expecting yesterday morning or yesterday afternoon when the team got announced? Was that sort of what you expected, or were you surprised?
No, I wasn't really too surprised about that. I was happy with it. But when I saw, obviously, Etheridge is back in the squad now, don't know if you want to touch on this, but I'm quite a strong believer that Sarkic should still have his place for the rest of the season. And that's no disrespect to Etheridge. I just think Sarkic has done more than enough to keep us in games and to get us a point, when we get those 0-0s and that. So yeah, I was quite happy with that yesterday.
Well, let's check it out there. I mean, my view on Sarkic is, I was at Northampton pre-season and I was like, Jesus Christ, who is this guy? And there's been a few wobbly moments, but I said to my lads yesterday, it's his now. I think he's done more than enough in my view. My worry is, with Etheridge on the bench, it's going to be a real test of character because the pressure's on. And, even yesterday when we're looking at, when they scored, I wasn't watching the game, but I thought that's not a howler from Sarkic, because that's then going to put the pressure on. So I'm with you, mate. I mean, even going back 3 weeks ago, I did say on the previous and sort of broadcasted pod that I'd have chucked Etheridge in the Albion game if he was fit, because I think he gives that bit of experience. But no, I think the lad deserves a run. What do you think, Carl?
Yeah, I'm fully behind Sarkic. I think he's great. And I think maybe he could have done slightly better with the goal yesterday in the end. It went underneath him. Maybe he could have got down better. But on the whole, ignoring the calamitous pre-season the kid had, I think it's not just his goalkeeping. He's kicking, I would say 90% of the time he's spot on. And it's his sweeping. He's almost a sweeper keeper. There are times, I think there was a time yesterday, came hurtling out and headed it out. I think it was towards the end. And I was like, no, stay. And he got there, and it seems that he's really, that decision-making has worked a lot better. I wish he would clear the ball quicker sometimes, but, there have been a couple of times where you thought, here we go. But yeah, I fully think that it's his shirt to lose and Etheridge's to fight for and get back. I like Etheridge. I think he's a great keeper, but we've got 2 solid keepers for the first time in a long time now in the squad, and it shows because the moment that Etheridge is fit, Truman's out. So, I think it's Sarkic's to lose. Hopefully, he doesn't do anything calamitous to do that. But yeah, I would be happy to see him continue for as long as possible. And although the other thing is as well, although Etheridge has been around this squad, Sarkic has worked with this team the entirety of the pre-season and the start of the season. So they've got to know how each other works and things like that. So yeah, Sarkic for me all day long for now until he throws the ball in from a corner or something ridiculous like that.
Tom?
Yeah, I think to be fair on the Sarkic point, one of his strongest points is actually corners, which is one of, if not Neil's weakest point. Claiming from corners, but Sarkic is so good at it. He'll throw himself halfway across the pitch just so long as he catches the ball. So no, he's been fantastic, and yeah, he could have done better with the goal. And to be honest, I do think that's the sort of save Etheridge makes from that sort of shot. He can get down quickly and get his body behind the ball, whereas Sarkic is more of I'd say a bit more of a spectacular saver. He likes those top corners, and we saw that against Huddersfield, pulls off some good saves. The game overall yesterday, I think first half, to be honest, both teams were pretty naff. Like no one really looked like scoring. Second half, Blues just come out this whole new identity. The press was a bit more intense, and it showed. And we just looked like we wanted to win it more. And then obviously we get the goal. St Andrews it was amazing yesterday. It was proper. It's the way it should have been when we all came back. And who knew it would be the Kop opening that made the difference? I feel like we always rely on the Tilton a lot for atmosphere, but the Kop played its part yesterday, which was good.
And the upper Kop at that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a surprise in itself. It was great, and I just felt like we were finally back at St Andrews. Like every other game has just felt so dead atmosphere wise. Maybe not Derby was all right, but no, yesterday was brilliant. Everything was just going our way in that second half, and it just felt good to be back again. I was finally back in my normal seat, and I loved it. So there we go, happy days. But yeah, when Deeney scored, the roof lifted off. We still played well, had some good chances after that. Hogan misses a sitter as always, but Scott, he still worked hard. The hard work was there. He's just really, really lacking a finishing touch at the moment, but so is a lot of the players. Chong almost scored a worldie. He was unlucky that long shot didn't find the net, to be honest. But here we are. And then one moment of quality from Swansea, which we all knew they had in the first place. They go and score, and you just think, yep, classic Blues. You always knew it was going to happen. Sick. We're going to bottle this now, probably 2-1 Swansea. But no, we didn't give in. And that was a nice change. And Riley McGree, great super sub, deserved to be in the starting lineup anyway, let alone on the bench. And he comes on and makes that difference. And I feel like we've said on this podcast so many times that Riley McGree deserves more game time and just hasn't got it. But yeah, no, it was great in the end. And I feel like we're starting to see very slowly which players work well together and where sort of the togetherness is in certain parts of the team, because I am seeing a difference personally, but I don't know whether the dressing room was divided at all, or that I remember when Deeney came in, he said there was a bit of a hierarchy there in the first place. So I feel like it's just trying to get everyone together on the same sort of level, rather than there being some people higher than others and others that don't get much of a say. So no, we are starting to see a proper togetherness now, and it's just going to take time to build. But January window is going to be huge for Blues, because we need to start putting away our chances. We could have won that game 4 or 5-0 yesterday. But yeah, no, some really good performances. Sarkic was good again. But Etheridge, it's glad to see him. It's good to see him back sort of in the match day squad, but he's going to have a job on his hands getting past Sarkic at the moment, which is a surprise because, as we said, pre-season was not pretty, to say the least. But no, great performance yesterday and absolutely buzzing. I wasn't going to go to Boro, but now I am.
Well, I made that pilgrimage. It was the first time Blues played at the Riverside when they built it. What a night that was. Anyway, I think the other thing to touch on, and I'm going to give it no shit Sherlock here. We've brought Deeney in. He's a ready-made captain. It feels like we wasted a lot of time, if I'm being honest. And I know that when he came in, we're probably on a bit of a crest of a wave. We were still, before that first international break, we were there or thereabouts. We're playing well, all that good stuff. And they brought Deeney in. But I think for me, when you bring in a player of that, just forget that he's a Blues fan. Forget that. If you just look at his stats and what he's done, and you bring a player like that into your squad, and he's a leader and he's a ready-made captain, you've got to get your balls out your mum's handbag and actually chuck him in and say, right, Dean, thanks a lot, mate. It's been emotional for 5 years, but the armband's actually going to go to somebody that's going to bring the whole club together. Because don't forget, Dean is a massively divisive person off the pitch. So it's common sense that if he's that off the pitch, he's definitely going to be that in the dressing room. And there'll be people in there that don't buy into him, but are probably bullied into just going with the flow.
Yeah.
So it's taken a long time to break that down. And, Dean's, it's his own fault because he played like an absolute, I don't even know what to say about the Forest game. I mean, that wasn't even Sunday League. It was so bad. So, it's his fault. And, finally, we've got a manager that says, you're not bulletproof, on you go. And I think now getting Deeney in as skipper, we've got an identity. And I don't buy into... I'm with you, Carl. Deeney and Hogan, I wouldn't rotate it. I'd run them until they can't run anymore, into the ground, done, start every game. Because, we all love Djukovic, but is there a better impact player to come on? Forget in Chucks, because I think he's just a bloody bit of a comedy character at the moment. He doesn't look like a footballer. But when Juki comes on, he can really galvanise the team again and give them a second go. So I think we got the makings of something good there. But I think the tinkering now has got to stop. And maybe, I don't know, I'll check it out there. I'd certainly give Hogan until the transfer window. And then if he's not on a run of form, then we get somebody else in and bomb him out.
Well, Jonathan Lico was man of the match yesterday.
Let's not go there, mate. Fucking hell. You never, mate. You never go back. You know that. Never, ever, ever. So actually, Carl, let's. So as far as that identity, all good Blues teams, and there have been some. I know it's been a while, but all good Blues teams have had a bloody good captain. I think it's so important it's for the fans as much as anything else. So do you see this as we're done now? He's got his goal. He's made his statement. He's in. Or do you think this is going to be a bit of a merry-go-round armband situation?
It's $1 million question, isn't it? For me, I think that if it's me making the decision, I think he's the captain, and I agree. Start Deeney and Hogan constantly, and the reason why it's something even as simple as the players warm up. Everyone always applauds the players off after the warm up, try and G them up a bit. But the first man over that corner flag and down that tunnel was Deeney, was leading the players off, jogging off. First man out as well. And I just think I always have a bit of an issue with centre forward sometimes being captains because you don't necessarily see the game. I mean, I was a goalkeeper and a captain, which probably was more of a detriment to my team than anything else, given my catching ability. But anyway, I've always had a bit, but he was just everywhere. And if he wasn't doing something, he was talking to somebody, or trying to get a message across from Lee Bowyer onto the pitch that hadn't been got through. I've never seen Hardy do that, ever, and there's just something about it that just, I don't know, it just looks settled it just looks right.
Yeah.
And it just works, and I think I was talking to, met up with one of my mates before the game down at the Ibis yesterday and had a drink with them, sort of said, look, the last captain for me that really did it, I still to this day, I hate the fact we didn't give him a 2-year contract, was Michael Morrison. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily the greatest player, but he would put his body on the line for the team. And Deeney was doing that yesterday. And I think, and that bleeds through the team. And in that second half towards the end, I think Sanderson, Graham, and maybe Gardner, every single one of them threw themselves in front of I don't know if it's a cross or a shot, to make sure that did not get through. 2-3 weeks ago against Forest, no one did that.
Yeah.
And I just think it needs to settle. You can't have a merry-go-round of a captain's armband. It might be symbolic, it might be X, Y, Z, but it's still an important thing, and you need that figurehead. And I think he is. For take away, like you say, everything else, the fact he's a Blues fan, all the fanfare, the great comment about Villa losing yesterday or losing on Friday or whatever. he is someone who is a figurehead. He'll lead the club. I mean, there's a reason they got him to announce it was kids for a quid, for example. You know, you wouldn't, with respect to everyone else, you wouldn't see Bella be announcing that. Do you know what I mean? I think he's a figurehead. And
he probably did his hamstring.
You're not wrong. Or like Montero made of glass. Anyway, but yeah. Yeah, I just think he's the guy to lead the line in more ways than one. And I just think it also gives other teams something to think about. Do you know what I mean? I think, oh God, they're going to be up for this. He knows what he's doing. And he showed with that touch and that finish exactly why he's a Premier League caliber striker.
Yeah. So, and on that, mate, I mean, we spoke before we jumped on here, and we sort of joked about the compilation of misses that we've had over the last sort of 6 games. The goal that Deeney scored, that as a chance, I would say is probably 10th, 11th hardest out of all the ones we've had. There was a lot to do at that point. And I just think with him, he's just a natural leader. You've only got to think, off the pitch and the way he's in the media, he's not shy. He commands respect. Yeah. And there's a difference between respect from the point of view of he's just a good bloke. He doesn't suffer fools. I would imagine he's pretty fair, but he's very honest. And I just think with Dean, he's probably just a bit of a bully. And you can't operate by fear. You can't, whether you're a manager in a business or a captain in a dressing room, because eventually you'll get a bit of a mutiny and the whole thing goes to shit. And I'm absolutely delighted that he was made skipper. So Kurt, did you see that coming, or did you think we needed that, or were you expecting maybe Juki to start yesterday?
Oh no, I was actually expecting Deeney to start. I think before that he'd only started 2 games. Anyway, so it is. Yeah, we've got Deeney. So I was been a bit disappointed the past few weeks. It hasn't really been starting, but yeah, like you touched on, his finish yesterday. I wouldn't really see, and there's no disrespect to Hogan, but obviously we all saw the one-on-one, and I wouldn't see Deeney doing that. I just feel Hogan, like you say, has confidence, whereas Deeney, he's got that innate ability. He's had the experience in the Prem. He's sort of more used to that pressure. So yeah, I'm thrilled to see him in.
And Tom, I'm taking it you were very much in the delighted camp when you saw that being announced.
Yeah, I was very happy, and having read the way Deeney found out as well, I thought was really a really nice touch, quite special. Obviously he didn't actually know he was going to be captain until he opened up his locker on match day, saw the armband was in there, and I like the way Bowyer sort of played it off as well. He didn't want to tell him he was going to be captain because that's just added pressure. It's sort of like just let him find out, and his match preparation will have been the same without having to think about captaincy because he is a natural leader. So he's just going to go out there and do his thing. And he showed that he's a natural leader without having to think about it or overcomplicate it. He was fantastic. And for me, the biggest difference between Dean and Deeney, and it's a big, big gap, is Deeney inspires, whereas Dean is, like you said, is more that sort of aggressive type and sort of tries to scare people into playing well. Dean's had his good moments and his bad moments, but it is coming towards the end now, and I think we can all see that. Don't get me wrong, last season was probably his best season, and I feel like that's probably just the best way to leave Dean, just to forget about this season and look at last season instead.
He played well for 8 games. He's played well for 8 games in 5 years.
Yeah, pretty much.
30 grand a week. Cheers. Good work if you can get it.
Thank you for scoring against Albion and then saying what you had to say.
For me, it's draw the line, underline, gone, done, move on. There is no way back for me.
Yeah.
And on that, just looking at, I think where the team is at the moment, it seems that we are. I don't think there's a lot of middle ground at the moment in selection.
Yeah,
we've either got a bit of a Huddersfield going on, or we've got maybe going back 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, maybe even to the Peterborough game. Quite sort of very offensive. And I still think, and Guard's made a point, Craig, that is, I think in the week, and he was just saying, this is a big job. And I think it's easy to just go, just immediate fix, and it's just not going to be that. And so I think to really find that blend, because for me, looking at that team, love friends, absolute, just great. I've said it from the get-go, perfect Blues, as a Blues person, nailed on, love him to bits. I think Sanderson, he's a Rolls Royce as a defender, and we haven't had that for a long, long time, and it's really got a great blend. I'm still out on Roberts, to be honest. I'd be looking to get a centre half in because I just want to cut the whole lot out. I want to cut all of the legacy out and get the whole horrible mess out of the way. That might be a bit harsh, and I'll chuck it out there. And I just think that Gardner-Sunjic is always going to be limited and will put pressure on other players to constantly deliver. So just on sort of shape and personnel, Tom, what do you think's our best blend? And as we go into the transfer window, what I mean, apart from fucking goal scorer, is there anything where you think maybe a player think, you know what, they could do a job or whatever it may be?
There's actually 4 positions I think we need to look at strengthening. Other positions more important than others. I think we need a backup wing back that could preferably play both sides, because we do seem to have a little bit of an injury trouble at the moment out wide. So I do think that would be an interesting one to strengthen. My personal preference would actually be Harrison Burrows at Peterborough. Scored the other day. He plays left wing back. He played well against Blues. Very young. I think he's still like 19, 20. So big career ahead of him. Highly rated over at Posh. Maybe he'd be looking to go somewhere bigger than, maybe lower Premier League. I don't know. But I just feel like it would be a realistic transfer. That's one that I would quite like us to look at. But if you wanted a more defensive wing back, then there are plenty out there, plenty of wing backs that aren't playing much either. Like even at Fulham, you've got Joe Bryan, who's not actually played that much this season because he's competing with Anthony Robinson. He's a promotion winning wing back in itself. But again, that's another attacking wing back, not so great defensively. It's actually quite hard to find good defensive wing backs these days. Yeah. I think Swansea are probably best suited for that because they've got players like Ryan Manning and Jake Bidwell, 2 very well-rounded left wing backs right there in itself. But no, there's plenty of players out there. I think a box-to-box midfielder to either partner guards or Sunjic that can attack and defend. So a bit like Jude, to be honest, when he played for Blues. But unfortunately, I don't think there's a buyback clause.
Or a loan option.
I think the Deeney coming home was probably that was beyond all of our comprehension. But if Belling comes back, I want to be interested to see how we could fund that. To be brutally honest,
we'd never be able to bring back Jude unless he was like 36. But the thing is, we do need a box-to-box midfielder, and there's plenty kicking about in League One that you could look at. And those are the sort of transfers I want to go. I don't want to go through like these scouting agencies over in France and Spain to find some random Spanish or Croatian midfielder that will slot in, be good for his first 3 games, and then never turn up ever again. I want us to find somebody consistent, hardworking, and that's proper Blues, a battler, but does have quality on the ball, because I think that's the biggest thing, quality on the ball. Whereas Woods has the quality on the ball, but like we said, he just can't defend. And to be fair, Bowyer said that, and since he's taken Woods out, we have been better defensively, and we've cut out a few more goals in the team, in a sense. So he was right, and he's made the right call. But it's not like Woods hasn't played well, because he has been really good and has been creating good opportunities for us. But unfortunately, we just need a different type of player. And
I think you're absolutely right with when you take Woods out and you bring a Gardner in, then he does shore it up, but he stops us playing. And this is what I'm saying. You've got
this is the problem.
This is it. You put Gardner and you think, Christ, we look solid. You put Woods in, it's like, okay, we should be decent going forward, but there just isn't that middle ground.
And that's where you need the box-to-box player.
And that's where he's got to square that circle, and hence worth probably debating it. So, Kurt, I mean, just as Any position particular that you think that we've? I mean, other than the obvious, or any place that maybe you've sort of seen or whatever.
Anywhere really wide. As soon as we lose Bella, I think we're struggling. I'm not sure how long it's going to be out for. But yeah, wide areas. There's probably. I mean, Tom said 4. That's probably right. To be fair, another striker. Well, I'll say another striker. A striker with pace. I think we just need that in the team because when we look to the bench, there's no pace option there really. We're swapping physicality for more physicality really. So yeah, pace on there, and then yeah, probably one more centre back if Roberts isn't consistent enough. And then yeah, probably a bit of more of a creative midfielder. So it's probably 4 players, but I don't think we're going to get all 4 boxes ticked in one January transfer window. I think that's unrealistic.
Yeah,
really. I think 2 would be fair.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I don't think we need to get them all in. I think we've got. It's like we're not screaming out for it. We've got Sanchez to come back, and I do actually think Bowyer likes him. So it'll be interesting to see what part he can play. It's a brave man to put him as wing back, that is for sure. So it's going to have to be a bit of a shifty around with the system.
Well, we didn't expect Jordan Graham to be good defensively, but he just seemed to have nurtured.
Mate, he's a big lad, though. I mean, Christ Almighty, Sanchez made a paper mache and you just run through him. So he's just not. He makes Bella look like bloody Anike. So I just don't see that as a viable option, to be honest. But that being said, I wish we'd have got Adam Reach. I think he would have been a great signing for us, and now he's just warming the bench for Albion, which is just ridiculous. Carl, anybody spring to mind for you, mate?
Well, I think the third thing we're probably going to have to look at is replacing McGree, to be perfectly honest, unless we bring back Bailey. Because obviously McGree's only here till January, because that's when he goes off to Charlotte. Is it he's going to go and play for in the MLS?
It's all made up, isn't it? If he just starts playing well, he's just going to sign for us, surely. I mean...
I'd like that, but I don't think it's going to happen.
He's going to pub league.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I just think it's, if he goes, we've got to replace him because he's one of the few attacking players we've got that kind of will get stuck in. He will put his, I think got booked yesterday again, didn't he, for an absolute cynical pullback. Like he might as well rugby tackle the guy to the ground, stamp on his face for what he did. Maybe
he was walking him like a dog with literally pulling him back that far.
Yeah. But if he does go, I mean, I'd love for him to not, because again, I think with the exception of the stepping stone comment that pissed everybody off for some reason, he has been sensational, and I agree with you. I think, but if he goes, we need to have somebody to replace him because we need that. And I think Bailey, could he be that? Maybe. I mean, scored a wonder goal yesterday, didn't he?
So.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I think centre back, we absolutely need something. A 2-sided wing back would be nice, because we just don't need the cover. But if we can't get to, I think right side, Max has gone, and so far we've played a winger there. Well, 2 wingers there, And Jordan Graham has been sensational. To be fair to him, like yesterday, he was phenomenal, like outstanding. Considering he's only started twice now after yesterday, so. But yeah, I think for me, we've got to be looking at pace. We're so slow sometimes on the ball. And it was interesting, the one time we've moved the ball quickly, we scored. Like our first goal, Sarkic won the ball back. Now, I was actually going to come on and make a point today that that's not something that we did normally, because Swansea won the ball back, looked up and they launched it to, I can't remember who it was on the wide right who was in behind Peds, and they were in. And sometimes we're a bit pedestrian. But the one time Sarkic won the ball back, played it to Chong played it in, it was a goal. But I just think we just need that pace. We just seem to be a bit starved of it at times,
Yeah.
But yeah, pacey forward, decent centre back, and if Jude fancies coming back for 6 months, who wants to play in the Champions League, am I right? Why not when you can play at Morecambe on a Saturday afternoon in January in the FA Cup? But yeah, I just think there's just little pockets, but I think we need, I don't know, I'd take a striker. That would be my main thing. And then to replace McGree, anything else that improves the squad from there is a bonus, to be honest with you. Yeah. And just hope that Chong, Sarkic, Sanderson don't get recalled, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't see Well, you'd hope because they were relatively lowish down in the pecking order from their respective teams. You'd have to say take. So I mean, they're all playing well. I think that Chong needed a performance, and he certainly produced that yesterday. But yeah, I'm with you, Carl. I think with just going back to my sort of man crush from last season, Halalovic, when he always looked to pick up the ball and be dynamic. And I know Woods has got that with his array of passing, but he's not got the pace to get beyond people. And I think we're just missing that a little bit. And I think Chong has got the capability, and we've seen it. But Championship's a horrible place for a player like that, and he's just he's targeted. And if I was an opposition manager, I'd be doing exactly the same. So that's life, and he just probably needs to just keep going, keep plugging, and I'm sure he'll get the rewards for it. But I think in general, I would love nothing more that we can just say at the end of the season, Deeney and Hogan are a pair, and they've done amazing for the club. Going back to a bit, Dukey and Che, just having something that your first names on the team sheet turn up. We know what we're going to get, Bosh, and they'll take the chances. And I know, I think it was you, Tom, saying you can start to see it, and I genuinely can. I genuinely can see it. But I'd like him to, we got Simmons from Man City. By all accounts, he's getting a few goals in the under-23s. I don't see any reason why. I mean, Anike, I think if Dukey was injured and we needed that impact on the bench, absolutely. But I don't see the point of having Deeney, Anike, and Djukovic in the squad, because what is the point? Whereas I think with Simmons, who knows? And I'd make the point about Graham. He has been abject, I think, on the build-up to getting the call-up. Tom, you said, you've seen him play and he wasn't great. You've only got to hope that he's one of those players that when it comes and when he's given the shot, that's when he performs and that's when he shines. Because to your point, Carl, if he's coming in and he's never really played that position before and he doesn't want to do it, what he does want to do is play for the first team.
Yeah.
He will do absolutely anything within his power to keep that shirt. And that is what you want, and I think if we've got a player like that that has got the appetite, I couldn't give a monkey's, what normal position he plays. One thing is sure, he's a bloody good footballer. We've all said that, and he's got that bit of quality. So I'm delighted he's in the fray, and it's a double-edged sword with McGree. I think if he gets picked regularly and he puts in the performances that we all know that he can, it's going to be heartbreaking to watch him go. So part of me doesn't want him to play. I don't know, it's weird. But anyway, let's think forward to
Boro.
Mr. Warnock. How he's never been a Blues manager is an absolute travesty. But anyway, we know what we're going to get. Tom, let's. Is this going to be a Huddersfield shithouse selection, or is he going to go with? We've got to win under our belt, and we're going to take them on.
I personally think he'll go with the same lineup. I think it'd be silly not to. He might make one change. Where that one change will be could be McGree, but I doubt it. I think he'll still want to keep that solid midfield pairing, and it's hard to drop Chong anyway. So yeah, I do think he'll go with the same lineup. You never know, he might drop Hogan, but I doubt it because that wouldn't help his confidence. So yeah, same lineup. Hopefully the same result. But see, Warnock was under pressure a few games back, but they have just picked up 2 wins on the spin, I believe. And it's yeah, exactly. 2 wins on the spin, and look where that gets you at the moment. Him and Mick McCarthy were both under pressure at the same time. One's now gone. The other one's picked up 2 wins on the spin and looking at the playoffs. So, yeah, and that's just down to 2 signings. That's down to 2 signings that seemed so random at the time, but they've been world-class since they come in. And they've only just sort of got to match fitness to be able to start for that Boro team. And now it's all coming together for Neil. So, as he says, his team's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Yeah, no, it depends how Middlesbrough turn up on the day as well, because it's never easy to go to the Riverside. Having said that, though, we have been all right the last few times we've been there. Deserved to win the last time we went there, to be honest. We were robbed of a goal, if I remember.
Yeah, that was the big punch up on the touchline, wasn't it? I think Sean Rush got banned.
Exactly. And then we won there last season as well, because there was that liquid football between Colin and Sanchez and Hogan. So more of that would be nice. But yeah, I don't think we're going to lose. It wouldn't surprise me if we kept a clean sheet, but it's not going to be easy. Because Middlesbrough are in form, but we always seem to beat the informed sides. Ask Swansea. So we'll see. I'm gonna be positive, because I really think we can build a run of games now. And charge for the playoffs, piss the league, why not? But
he's on it again.
Yeah, but we'll see anyway. We'll see. I'm gonna go. I want to be as positive as possible. You know what? I'm going to say 3-0 Blues. Why not?
Christ, he's been on the pop early.
I'm going to say,
no, it'll probably be 1-0, but I want to say 3-0, so I'm going with it.
Kurt, can you see any changes?
Well, I was just going to say, I love that optimism. I don't really agree with it, but I like it.
Remember this moment, because this will be exactly like when Nigel Farage goes, "You all laughed at me. Fair to say you're not laughing now."
Well, not the 3-0. I would have been happy with a 0-0. Like, seriously, away, I always just take a point away from home, and that's fine, no matter who you're playing in the league. So I don't think it really matters, like, who you really play in the league when you're going away. Yeah, I don't think it really matters. Just get a point. What was your question? Sorry. What was?
Well, just from a team selection point of view, would you expect him to sort of change it or
like
not?
You say, I would like to see Deeney and Hogan get that run of games, but just judging by Bowyer's comments, I'm not sure if that's what he even wants to do with them. So it feels like Deeney's going to play home games, and then we'll see about the away games. But I would like to see that. I wouldn't make any. I don't think I'd make any changes really, especially at the back. But going to your McGree comment, even if he is going to leave us in January, which only he can answer that, I'd still play him all the time, because whilst he's on the pitch, he's still doing a job. So wherever he goes in January, I don't really care, because that's a problem, a few months down the road, really.
No, absolutely. And I'd be, well, I just wouldn't get it if Deeney's sort of been and out based on, home or away. I mean, but I agree, Bowyer hasn't been committal, but to be fair, that's his style. So does keep his cards relatively close to his chest. Carl, do you think expecting any changes?
I think it depends if Bella's fit. I think if Bella's fit, he might come back in on that on either side, to be honest with you. Not saying I want that to happen, but he seems to like Bella as a wing back, which he's up and down with it. Sometimes he's phenomenal. He's just typical Bella. Sometimes he's great. Sometimes you wish he was left back in Brum. So, yeah, that's probably the only change I would really see, because why change a winning formula unless you have to? I mean, that I think Tom touched on that. I think the moment we had that goal disallowed yesterday, which, by the way, was a ridiculous decision, that lino needs an eye test
onside,
at the minute. 100%. Yeah, about a yard onside. Where's VAR in the Championship, eh? But I just think you just don't change it. And that when we scored that first goal, you just saw the lift that gave the team. It was a completely different side after we scored. And I think that team battled their asses off. So saving any injuries, don't change it. Take McGree, take Duke on the bench and all that, Bella, Sanchez, whatever, but don't change that starting 11. I think you've got to back the players when they put in a performance like that. Although he did drop Hogan after praising him, so he could change the whole 11 based on that one experience, but I highly doubt it. Yeah, for me, don't change it. As much as I love to see McGree play, I think him and Duke can be a better impact in the second half, because it gives us, certainly with McGree, it gives us pace, it gives us a ball player. So yeah, I would you've got a win in under the belt with the team. Let's just stick with it.
Okay, so I guess from my point of view, I think that I'd be disappointed if he changes it. I mean, we've talked about him sort of praising Hogan and dropping him, but that was off we haven't won the game and he hadn't scored, so it makes that a little bit easier, I think, that decision. But once a team has won, first time in a long time, then I think that does change things quite a bit. But but we've got to be physical. Warnock's teams are, you've got to earn the right first 20. If we don't do that, excuse me, it's going to be a long afternoon. And just on Neil Warnock, you may or may not know, his name is an anagram of Colin Wanker, which not a lot of people, which is fantastic, and it fits him to an absolute T. But prediction-wise, I think he's going to be tight. With you, Kurt, I think you can keep a clean sheet. That's always, and for this team, based on the just horrendous Peterborough, Forest, etc., Fulham, my God. So just getting back to that, it might not be the prettiest, but you don't win games of football if you're shipping goals left, right and centre. So I'm going to go 1-0 Blues. So we've had your ridiculous as usual, Tom. It's a good job it's not a charity bet because I'd be asking serious questions. Carl, prediction?
I'll go 2-1 Blues. I think we showed yesterday that even if we do concede, we can go on and score again. And I think that will lift the team as well, the whole squad. Because I think the only time we've done that was Barnsley when we drew 1-1. So I think 2-1 Blues. But I think we'll be 2-0 up and they'll score in like the 89th minute. Classic Blues kind of will be sat there, butts clenched, praying for everything to miss.
Just not a 0-0. It's all I ask. Don't give me a 0-0. I don't want to travel all the way up to Middlesbrough.
Lead on to Kurt. What do you think the result's going to be?
I'm so sorry, Tom, but I was going to say I would happy with a 0-0. Because you get a clean sheet.
I couldn't be. I'd rather go 1-0 up and lose 2-1, to be honest, because at least I had something to celebrate for my travels.
Just for the sake of you, then I hope it's not a 0-0. But at the back of my mind, I sort of take that. But I would say 1-0, or if you can't get a 1-0, just have another point and a clean sheet, and that's good for confidence again. So I would, before the game, I would take a 0-0.
And I guess rounding up, we've got time to maybe just go through a dream pick. So as the founder of this particular piece of the pod, Carl, I'm going to start with you. So dream pick for Saturday?
We all know it isn't probably going to be particularly outlandish. So I'm probably going to play it quite safe. I'm
Djokovic. I'm turning this off.
No, I'll go with the Nikkei up top. I'm kidding. Don't hurt me. I'd stay with. I think I'd stay with Graham at right wing back. I think he's done a great job, and I think he needs to continue in it. And I think he's proved that he can defend. So Graham at right wing back to continue. But obviously it depends if Bella's fit, I think. But that would be the one for me.
And everything frozen. Tom, your dream pick?
I want Jonathan Lico to be recalled from loan and put into that squad.
Are you on the piss or what's going on?
I'm high on happiness.
Nonsense.
This is what happens when Blues win. I'm just too happy. It's just there's too much to go through now. My dream pick, I don't know, to be honest. I quite like the Jordan Graham pick, but I'm not going to steal it. I think George Friend, to be honest, I just want to see George Friend maintain his spot in that sort of back line. I don't want him to be dropped. I'd be sad if he was. So I'm going to go with George Friend, sort of another safe pick. But I wouldn't mind seeing McGree in there or Anike, to be honest. I don't mind him. I do think he's a good player. He's just not had enough chance yet. And he does create his own chances as well. And seeing Ethers on the bench again will be nice.
Yeah, I must admit, if there was ever a game for Anike, this is probably it.
Yeah, to be fair.
He can probably fill a Warner if the opportunity arises. Kurt, dream pick, so a player that you definitely want to see over and above anybody else?
Well, I think Harley now, Jack. I'm not going to say Harley at all. I don't believe it.
Anyway, thanks for your contribution, Kurt. You're breaking up, mate.
I just wanted to see if you'd click on to anything of even.
Well, I'm with virtual, so there's not a lot I can do, but I'll get your address. I'll see you later.
That's all right. Probably just a simple one. Really, Deeney and Hogan getting something between them, probably maybe assisting each other and getting a goal. that'd be nice. Trying to build that partnership because, yeah, like you say, that needs to be consistent now. You can't keep swapping that, regardless of the whole home thing with Deeney and him just playing there. I think they need to be a regular thing. So, yeah, if Deeney grabs the winner, then that would suit me just fine, and a 1-0 even better.
Perfect. Yeah, I think for me, I'd like to see, not to start, it'd be good to see Sanchez just get a bit of time.
Yeah.
He's been a good player for us. It can be a bit frustrating, but there's no doubt it's quality on the ball. I think Simmons coming in from the under-23s, I'd like to see him start to get on the bench. We all know it. We're screaming out for pace. So, you know, if we've got anything somewhere in the I guess in the setup where there is pace to burn, whether they're any good in front of goal, it doesn't really matter because let's be honest, they're not up against a lot, are they? They'll just be quick and miss. So, yeah, I think that I think it's that result yesterday. You know, I think there's two parts of it. We scored a goal, but we came back from adversity a little bit. I'd be lying if I wasn't expecting that sort of. If there's going to be, I did say when he went 1-1, I knew there'd be another goal, and if I was going to put money on it, it wouldn't have been on us. So I think that's going to do them absolute wonders. I'm glad there's a week because I think no need to get overexcited and you just keep working on what they have been doing since the Forest. There is an obvious shift. So yeah, I'm quietly confident, and thank Christ we're on a Sunday and we've got 3 points to celebrate. So on that, Tom, thank you very much for a few insane contributions, but nevertheless there was some sanity in there at times. So thanks.
No worries, mate. Pleasure as always.
Carl, obviously the sage of the group, so very level-headed, and yeah, thank you for your comments, mate.
Always, mate. Always a pleasure.
And Kurt, aka Dean's number one fan, thank you for your contributions. Yeah, I hope your horrible dream pick doesn't come off. But no, thanks for your contributions, mate. Good to see you on the pod.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Right, that's it. Good times ahead, I think. Definitely a bit of a shift. So we look forward to Mr. Wanker's team on Saturday, and hopefully we can put one over on him because and he'll have a right moan up. But between now and then, keep right on and stay safe.